conference. This conference today, I would say, is the first on service. So it's hinged on two major pillars. One is export of services. The second is e-commerce.
As NEPC champions the promotion and development of services exports, we at OGSA share a common goal of fostering economic diversification and economic growth.
Anything that we can use to support service and service export, Nexim Bank is interested, and we work with NEPC to make it happen.
Together we can position Nigeria's service exports at the forefront of the global digital economy, boosting competitiveness and driving sustainable national development.
When it comes to the issue of services, we don't joke with it. My presentation cannot capture all, but this is an area in which, if we are not very careful to capture this very well, there can be what we call transfer pricing.
What do we expect at the NBS? Ensure that these records are being put in place, especially given the fact that the FMITI and the Central Bank of Nigeria is here. They know their role in ensuring that we have adequate infrastructure, structures.
Average age of all the people in this country is like 19. And that gives us a very huge database of working age population that the country can leverage on, to make things happen.
If you cannot drive attention towards your market, then you cannot create awareness. In other words, you cannot create that revenue or that value that you're looking for.
women are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
Greatly delighted to welcome you all to this event, the WTO ITC interactive section with the She Trade Nigerian Hub and other key stakeholders as part of a sideline activity to mark the launch of WTO ITC Standard and Trade Development Facility for Sesame and Cowpea by the Director General of WTO, Her Excellency Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I sincerely wish to use this medium to specially express my appreciation to Her Excellency for keeping to her promise. When she visited the Council in 2021, pledging to support the Council in its quest to mainstream the participation of women-led businesses in global trade and therefore ensure gender inclusiveness and poverty alleviation. Today, that promise is now a reality with the launch of WTO ITC STDF Project 2024.
Women are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
I want to say a big thank you to all of you women. You have proved the concept. DG came here in 2021. Many stories are being told in between in terms of some of the successes that you have made during this period. But you've proved beyond actually what we had thought we would be able to achieve at that point, which was initially, let's make some noise to find some space for the women. But you have proved that given the opportunity and having attending the results, you are able not only to reinvest in your businesses, but actually ensure that the income that you are generating is supporting communities, as CEO had just mentioned.
What I've taken from She Trades, it's really the sisterhood. I've met a lot of women. The support is immense, whether it's from the NEPC ladies that we work with, whether it's the consultant from the ICT.
The very first in Nigeria, and arguably in West Africa, the first certified share park in Nigeria. So we are now able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ugandans, with Mali, with Ivory Coast and other Sahel region countries that have share.
We are beginning to open hubs in the local markets, physical hubs, working with partners to help the women to calculate their tax, to put their papers right, to make sure that they know the benefits of what this will do for them.
The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, is the federal government of Nigeria's apex institution for the promotion, development and diversification of non-oil exports. NEPC has over the years worked to achieve its mandate, coordinating and harmonizing export development and promotion activities in the country, taking the lead in all national export programs, and interfacing with international trade agencies on cooperation and capacity building.
NEPC has actually supported our business tremendously. We were actually just a very small micro business in Nigeria. But along the line, when we got with the fund, we were able to expand into exports. We've been able to sell to Gambia, to other African countries, South Africa. We went to IETF through NEPC. We're recently in Cairo through NEPC. I was in Dublin through NEPC, and I sell my product also there. And one way or the other, the expansion fund also allows us to accommodate more entrepreneurs who want to actually process their products.
Export Promotion Council, they are the backbone of now today of our business. If I can recall, before we only go to every trade fair or exhibition in so many countries. But sometimes the demand is too much and we cannot do anything. To when the NEPC come to our aid by providing us the certificate of USFDA, Halal certificate and other registrations.
Our vision is to make the world a marketplace for Nigerian non-oil products, and our mission is to spearhead the diversification of the Nigerian economy by expanding and increasing non-oil exports for sustainable and inclusive economic growth.
And I would say I'm excited to be here for this conference, this great conference. This conference today, I would say, is the first on service. So it's hinged on two major pillars. One is export of services. The second is e-commerce.
As NEPC champions the promotion and development of services exports, we at OGSA share a common goal of fostering economic diversification and economic growth.
Anything that we can use to support service and service export, Nexim Bank is interested and will work with NEPC to make it happen.
Together we can position Nigeria's service exports at the forefront of the global digital economy, boosting competitiveness and driving sustainable national development.
When it comes to the issue of services, we don't joke with it. My presentation cannot capture all, but this is an area in which, if we are not very careful to capture this very well, there can be what we call transfer pricing.
What do we expect at the NBS? Ensure that these records are being put in place, especially given the fact that the FMITI and the Central Bank of Nigeria is here. They know their role in ensuring that we have adequate infrastructure, structures.
Average age of all the people in this country is like 19. And that gives us a very huge database of working age population that the country can leverage on, to make things happen.
If you cannot drive attention towards your market, then you cannot create awareness. In other words, you cannot create that revenue or that value that you're looking for.
Women are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
Chikti, 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 chikwanti, 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 chikti. Chikti, Sanchikti, Chikwanti, ladies and gentlemen, Chiktu.
Greatly delighted to welcome you all to this event, the WTO ITC Interactive Section with the She Trade Nigerian Hub and other key stakeholders as part of a sideline activity to mark the launch of WTO ITC Standard and Trade Development Facility for Sesame and Cowpea by the Director General of WTO, Her Excellency Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I sincerely wish to use this medium to specially express my appreciation to Her Excellency for keeping to her promise. When she visited the Council in 2021, pledging to support the Council in its quest to mainstream the participation of women-led businesses in global trade and therefore ensure gender inclusiveness and poverty alleviation. Today, that promise is now a reality with the launch of WTO ITC STDF Project 2024.
Women are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
I want to say a big thank you to all of you women. You have proved the concept. DG came here in 2021. Many stories are being told in between in terms of some of the successes that you have made during this period. But you've proved beyond actually what we had thought we would be able to achieve at that point, which was initially, let's make some noise to find some space for the women. But you have proved that given the opportunity and having attending the results, you are able not only to reinvest in your businesses, but actually ensure that the income that you are generating is supporting communities, as CEO had just mentioned.
What I've taken from She Trades, it's really the sisterhood. I've met a lot of women The support is immense, whether it's from the NEPC ladies that we work with, whether it's the consultant from the ICT.
The very first in Nigeria, and arguably in West Africa, the first certified share park in Nigeria. So we are now able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ugandans, with Mali, with Ivory Coast, and other Sahel region countries that have share.
We are beginning to open hubs in the local markets, physical hubs, working with partners to help the women to calculate their tax, to put their papers right, to make sure that they know the benefits of what this will do for them.
The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, is the federal government of Nigeria's apex institution for the promotion, development, and diversification of non-oil exports. NEPC has over the years worked to achieve its mandate, coordinating and harmonizing export development and promotion activities in the country, taking the lead in all national export programs, and interfacing with international trade agencies on cooperation and capacity building.
NEPC has actually supported our business tremendously. We were actually just a very small micro business in Nigeria. But along the line, when we got with the fund, we were able to expand into exports. We've been able to sell to Gambia, to other African countries, South Africa. We went to IETF through NEPC. We're recently in Cairo through NEPC. I was in Dublin through NEPC, and I sell my product also there. And one way or the other, the expansion fund also allows us to accommodate more entrepreneurs who want to actually process their product.
Export Promotion Council, they are the backbone of now today of our business. If I can recall, before we only go to every trade fair or exhibition in so many countries. But sometimes the demand is too much and we cannot do anything. To when the NEPC come to our aid by providing us the certificate of USFDA, Halal certificate, and other registrations.
Our vision is to make the world a marketplace for Nigerian non-oil products, and our mission is to spearhead the diversification of the Nigerian economy by expanding and increasing non-oil exports for sustainable and inclusive economic growth.
And I would say I'm excited to be here for this conference, this great conference. This conference today, I would say, is the first on service. So it's hinged on two major pillars. One is export of services. The second is e-commerce.
As NEPC champions the promotion and development of services exports, we at OGSA share a common goal of fostering economic diversification and economic growth.
Anything that we can use to support service and service export, Nexim Bank is interested, and we work with NEPC to make it happen.
Together we can position Nigeria's service exports at the forefront of the global digital economy, boosting competitiveness and driving sustainable national development.
when it comes to the issue of services, we don't joke with it. My presentation cannot capture all, but this is an area in which, if we are not very careful to capture this very well, there can be what we call transfer pricing.
What do we expect at the NBS? Ensure that these records are being put in place, especially given the fact that the FMITI and the Central Bank of Nigeria is here. They know their role in ensuring that we have adequate infrastructure, structures.
Average age of all the people in this country is like 19. And that gives us a very huge database of working age population that the country can leverage on, to make things happen.
If you cannot drive attention towards your market, then you cannot create awareness. In other words, you cannot create that revenue or that value that you're looking for.
Women are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
greatly delighted to welcome you all to this event, the WTO ITC Interactive Section with the She Trade Nigerian Hub and other key stakeholders as part of a sideline activity to mark the launch of WTO ITC Standard and Trade Development Facility for Sesame and Cowpea by the Director General of WTO, Her Excellency, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I sincerely wish to use this medium to specially express my appreciation to Her Excellency for keeping to her promise when she visited the Council in 2021, pledging to support the Council in its quest to mainstream the participation of women-led businesses in global trade and therefore ensure gender inclusiveness and poverty alleviation. Today, that promise is now a reality with the launch of WTO ITC STDF Project 2024.
Women are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
I want to say a big thank you to all of you women. You have proved the concept. DG came here in 2021. Many stories are being told in between in terms of some of the successes that you have made during this period. But you've proved beyond actually what we had thought we would be able to achieve at that point, which was initially, let's make some noise to find some space for the women. But you have proved that given the opportunity and attending the results, you are able not only to reinvest in your businesses, but actually ensure that the income that you are generating is supporting communities, as CEO had just mentioned.
What I've taken from She Trades, it's really the sisterhood. I've met a lot of women. The support is immense, whether it's from the NEPC ladies that we work with, whether it's the consultant from the ICT.
The very first in Nigeria, and arguably in West Africa, the first certified share park in Nigeria. So we are now able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ugandans, with Mali, with Ivory Coast and other Sahel region countries that have share.
We are beginning to open hubs in the local markets, physical hubs, working with partners to help the women to calculate their tax, to put their papers right, to make sure that they know the benefits of what this will do for them.
The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, is the federal government of Nigeria's apex institution for the promotion, development, and diversification of non-oil exports. NEPC has over the years worked to achieve its mandate, coordinating and harmonizing export development and promotion activities in the country. Taking the lead in all national export programs, and interfacing with international trade agencies on cooperation and capacity building.
NEPC has actually supported our business tremendously. We're actually just a very small micro business in Nigeria. But along the line, when we got with the fund, we were able to expand into exports. We've been able to sell to Gambia, to other African countries, South Africa. We went to IETF through NEPC. We're recently in Cairo through NEPC. I was in Dublin through NEPC, and I sell my product also there. And one way or the other, the expansion fund also allows us to accommodate more entrepreneurs who want to actually process their product.
Export Promotion Council, they are the backbone of now today of our business. If I can recall, before we only go to every trade fair or exhibition in so many countries. But sometimes the demand is too much and we cannot do anything. To when the NEPC come to our aid by providing us the certificate of USFDA, halal certificate and other registrations.
Our vision is to make the world a marketplace for Nigerian non-oil products, and our mission is to spearhead the diversification of the Nigerian economy by expanding and increasing non-oil exports for sustainable and inclusive economic growth.
And I will say I'm excited to be here for this conference, this great conference. This conference today, I will say, is the first on service. So it's hinged on two major pillars. One is export of services. The second is e-commerce.
As NEPC champions the promotion and development of services exports, we at OGSA share a common goal of fostering economic diversification and economic growth.
Anything that we can use to support service and service export, Nexim Bank is interested, and we work with NEPC to make it happen.
Together we can position Nigeria's service exports at the forefront of the global digital economy, boosting competitiveness and driving sustainable national development.
When it comes to the issue of services, we don't joke with it. My presentation cannot capture all, but this is an area in which, if we are not very careful to capture this very well, there can be what we call transfer pricing.
What do we expect at the NBS? Ensure that these records are being put in place, especially given the fact that the FMITI and the Central Bank of Nigeria is here. They know their role in ensuring that we have adequate infrastructure, structures.
Average age of all the people in this country is like 19. And that gives us a very huge database of working age population that the country can leverage on, to make things happen.
If you cannot drive attention towards your market, then you cannot create awareness. In other words, you cannot create that revenue or that value that you're looking for.
are very active in trade. That's why you're all here. And the research we've done at the World Trade Organization shows that women who export earn almost 3 times more than those who sell domestically. That is research that is done from all over the world. So being in trade, being able to export really materially increases your well-being, your living standards, your income, and you can help your family and the nation more. And that is why we came today to launch a series of programs that we hope will be beneficial to the country, including our women.
Nigeria, we hail thee. Nigeria, Nigeria, we hail thee. Our own dear native land, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign fatherland.
Request, help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Amen. Please be seated. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Chris Osa Isobo, represented by Mrs. Gertrude Oji, the Director, Investment Promotion, Federal Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment, the ED CEO, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Mrs. Nonye Ayeni, the Directors of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, the Director, Policy and Strategy, Mr. Lal Shehu Dalhat, the Director, State Offices Coordinating Department, Mr. Jackson Arnold, the Director, Solid Minerals Department, Mr. Samson Idowu, and Director, Market Access Department, Mr. Akitunde Folorunso. The Director, Export Development and Incentives Department, Pastor John Okore. The Director of Product Development Department, Mr. Macpherson Iluewen, and the Director, Trade Information Department, Mr. Ndubweze Okeke. Our distinguished facilitators, key stakeholders, and partners from NAFDAC, being represented here is the Deputy Director representing NAFDAC from Greater FCT, an International Strategic Partnership Trade Office, NAFDAC. We have in-house Mrs. Chizoba Maduaguna, and joining us online for a paper presentation later in the day, the Deputy Director, Port Inspection, NAFDAC Lagos, Mrs. Oluwaseyi Sanwo-Olu, the Business Development and Sales Coordinator, African Quality Assurance Center, Mr. Lawal Mohammed, the Assistant Comptroller of Quarantine, Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, Mrs. Rosemary Uche Oguneme, the Assistant Director of Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture from the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, Abdullah Hafsat, our facilitator and a strong woman entrepreneur joining us virtually, the CEO Okam Blessed, Mrs. Elizabeth Olarewaju Wankwo, all our partners in-house, all deputy directors, assistant directors of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, staff of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, distinguished members of the press, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the webinar series 9.0. Please a round of applause. Thank you very much. It is an absolute pleasure to be here again. The last time we were here was in March of 2026, and we looked at the topic, or we explored the EU regulations for importation of Nigeria agri-food. And today again, we're yet again diving into a very important area of exports that imports on what we do. And today we're looking at unlocking Nigerians' export potentials through zero reject strategies. And you may ask, is it possible to get a zero rejects. We'll find out by the time we're rounding off this webinar today. So basically today we've brought together experts in those areas to have policy dialogue, to share knowledge on how we would at least considerably reduce export rejections and strengthen Nigerians' export competitiveness in the global marketplace. It's a known fact that when you have your products exported and it is rejected, it doesn't just impact only on financial loss for the exporter, it also considerably damages the reputation of the nation, reduces our market opportunity, and sometimes causes product restrictions and bans in most cases. So today we want to find out what are the causes, what are the implications, what can we do from our end to ensure that we adhere to international standards to considerably reduce rejects and bring it to zero if possible. We have very, very, very intelligent minds here to share their thoughts and share knowledge on this topic. But before we dive into all of that, we would like to hear from the chief host of this webinar series and the convener of this webinar series. She's no other person than the very indefatigable ED-CEO of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, a woman I like to call a go-getter and an action woman. Please let's welcome for her welcome remark, Mrs. Nonye Ayeni.
Good morning, everyone. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Osa Isokun, ably represented by the Director of Trade, Investment and Investment Promotion, FMITI, Mrs. Gertrude Oji. Thank you for coming. The Director, Port Inspection, National Agency for Food, Drug and Administration Control, that's NAFDAC, Mrs. Oluwaseyi Sanwo-Olu. Thank you for coming. Business Development and Sales Coordinator, African Quality Assurance Center, Mr. Lawal Mohammed. Assistant Comptroller of Quarantine, Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services, Mrs. Rosemary Uche Oguneme. Assistant Director, Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, FDFA, Abdullahi Hafsat. The CEO, Auckland Best Limited, Mrs. Elizabeth Olarinwaju Mwankwo. My directors, before I say ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recognize Sherifat Omokide. I just permit me to break protocols to recognize her because when we started this webinar series, she was the coordinator and she started it. So let's recognize, and I'm glad to see you here. So it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 9th edition of NEPC Re-Energized webinar series. I sincerely appreciate every participant joining us today, both virtually and physically. I want to especially thank the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Osa Isokun, for creating our time out of his busy schedule to participate and for sending one of our own, our very dear own, Mrs. Gertrude Oji, to come and also physically be here to represent him. I want to, our distinguished speakers, I also want to thank our distinguished speakers from regulatory agencies, exporters, private sector participants, and other stakeholders. Your presence at this webinar underscores our shared commitment to transforming Nigeria into globally competitive export nation. The theme of today's webinar, Unlocking Nigerian Export Potential Through Zero Reject Strategies, is timely and very strategic. As a federal government agency with the responsibility or with the mandate to develop, to promote non-oil export and help to diversify the economy away from oil and to also support export-oriented industries in their journey in export. It's important that we focus not only on increasing export volume and value, but also improving the quality, meeting international standards, adhering to regulatory requirements, adhering to food safety standards, adhering to sanitary and phytosanitary issues. This will enhance competitiveness of our products, of our commodities in the international market. Nigeria is richly endowed with agricultural produce, solid minerals, and increasing competitive service sector, all of which present immense opportunity to expand our non-oil export. Across the world, demand continues to grow for many Nigerian products and commodities, creating new opportunities for our exporters to access regional and international markets. To fully harness these opportunities, however, we must consistently meet quality, safety, traceability, packaging, documentation requirements of destination markets. Doing so will strengthen the competitiveness of Nigerian products, reduce avoidable export rejection, contract cancellations, and also protect our national reputation and increase our foreign exchange earnings. At Nigerian Export Promotion Council, our mission is to make the world a marketplace for Nigerian products. Building a culture of quality, compliance, and continuous improvement across export value chain is essential if Nigeria is to achieve sustainable growth in both volume and value of our non-oil export. Every rejected consignment represents lost opportunity for foreign exchange earning. It represents lost job creation, business expansion, and national economic development, which does not speak to the Renew Hope agenda. The Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Renew Hope agenda in terms of increasing the volume and value of non-export and diversifying the economy away from oil is very pertinent, and this speaks to it. So today's webinar is designed to provide practical insights and strategies to achieve zero reject for Nigerian products in the international market. Key agencies and organizations have been invited to speak on issues ranging from destination market requirements, international quality standards, conformity assessment, sanitary and phytosanitary measures. I am confident that the knowledge shared today will equip exporters and MSMEs, our women and our youth that are in the export ecosystem and other stakeholders with the practical tools required to minimize export rejects and improve market access. As I close, let me assure you that NEPC remains committed to its mandate of promoting the development and diversification of Nigerian non-oil export. We will continue to support exporters through capacity building, market intelligence, product development initiatives, trade facilitation, and strategic partnership that enhance competitiveness in the international market. As we move forward, I encourage every exporter to see quality and compliance as an integral part of doing business, not a burden, not an additional requirement. Buyers around the world are looking for reliable suppliers who can consistently meet international standards. If we get it right from production to processing, packaging, and documentation, we will not only reduce export rejection, but also strengthen Nigerians' reputation as a trusted source of quality products and services, and that will improve our competitiveness in the global market. So as we open up this 9th edition of the webinar series, NEPC Connect, I'd like to encourage everyone, let's work in line with the Renew Hope agenda to continue to diversify the country away from oil. Oil creates jobs, but non-oil export creates more jobs. And it's not only creation of jobs, it also brings in foreign exchange to this great country. So let us all work together in line with the agenda, Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President, His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and also the policy trust of our Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwola, MFR, with all that she's doing in terms of trade facilitation to improve non-oil exports. So on that note, I'd like to once again welcome you and wish all of us productive and rewarding webinar series. Thank you very much.
Thank you, EDCEO, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, for those words. And as she has said to us, in line with the renewed hope agenda of the Mr. President, we are doing all that we can to diversify the economy and create jobs, and to make sure that, as it is our vision as a council, to make the world a marketplace for Nigerian non-oil products, we should, as a matter of fact, consistently meet quality, meet standards, traceability, and market requirements. This is the only way that we can ensure that we maintain the competitiveness of Nigerian products. I like what she said in her own words: quality and compliance are an integral part of doing business and not a burden. Thank you so much, EDCEO. We move on very swiftly to hear from the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, who is ably represented in-house here by the Director Investment Promotion of the FMITI. Please let's make welcome for the keynote address of the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Gertrude Oji. A warm round of applause, please. Thank you. While we're waiting for her to get onto her speech, I would like to please establish that we should kindly turn off our devices and reduce movement in-house as much as we can. Kindly put your devices on silence while we move forward. Thank you.
The Executive Director and CEO, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Mrs. Nonye Ayeni, my own dear sister, distinguished directors and staff of NEPC, other directors from federal ministries, departments and agencies, private sectors representatives, and other stakeholders, good morning. I bring you warm greetings from the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Chris Osa Isupu, who would have been delighted to personally deliver this keynote address, but is unavoidably away attending to other official engagements. He has requested that I convey his goodwill and deliver the remarks on his behalf. He's particularly pleased to associate himself with this important initiative of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council and commends the Executive Director, Mrs. Nonye Ayeni, and her team for their continued efforts in strengthening Nigeria's non-oil export sector and building the capacity of our exporters. Now I will present his keynote address. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the theme of today's webinar is both timely and strategic. It aligns directly with Mr. President's renewed hope agenda in driving export diversification, industrialization, and sustainable economic growth through a globally competitive non-oil export sector. As Nigeria intensifies efforts to diversify its economy, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment's aspiration is not merely to facilitate export, but to promote the production of high-quality export products that can compete successfully in regional and international markets. Let me at this point emphasize that achieving this vision requires more than increased production volumes. It demands an unwavering commitment to quality, standards, compliance, and innovation. In today's global trading environment, market access is increasingly determined by an exporter's capacity to comply with stringent sanitary and phytosanitary measures, technical regulations, traceability requirements, and emerging sustainability standards, compliance is therefore not simply a regulatory obligation, it is a strategic investment in market access, business growth, and long-term competitiveness. Export rejection remains one of the critical impediments to Nigerians' export ambitions and access to international markets. In many instances, rejected consignments arise from unavoidable factors, including non-compliance with sanitary and phytosanitary requirements, failure to meet technical standards and quality specifications, inadequate packaging and labeling, poor traceability systems, incomplete export documentation, and contamination or quality defects identified at destination markets. These challenges not only result in significant financial losses for exporters, but also diminish buyers' confidence and undermine Nigerians' reputation as a reliable source of quality products. Every rejected consignment, therefore, represents more than a lost business opportunity. It signifies lost export earnings, diminished market confidence, and missed opportunities for industrial growth and economic transformation. More importantly, it undermines our national efforts to diversify exports, expand market access, and position Nigeria as a trusted trading partner in the global marketplace. The zero reject strategy is therefore more than a quality assurance initiative. It is a strategic enabler of Nigerians' export diversification and industrialization agenda. Achieving zero rejection is not the responsibility of exporters alone. It requires stronger collaboration among producers, processors, exporters, regulators, certification bodies, logistics providers, industries associations, and policy makers to ensure that Nigerian products consistently meet global standards. Building a culture of quality must therefore become a shared national responsibility. We at the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment remains firmly committed to implementing policies and programs that promote export diversification and sustainable trade growth. Our vision is clear: to transition from exporting predominantly raw commodities to becoming a globally recognized supplier of quality, value-added agricultural and industrial manufacturing products. As Nigeria continues to leverage the opportunities presented by regional and global trade arrangements, including the African Continental Free Trade Area, the opportunities before us are immense, but they are only to be realized if Nigerian products consistently meet the standards demanded by international markets. Export success begins with quality, and sustainable market access is built on compliance, innovation, and consumer confidence. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I therefore urge all participants to take full advantage of the insights and deliberations that will emerge from this webinar. And let us commit ourselves to fostering a culture of quality, strengthening compliance mechanism, and promoting value addition across our export ecosystem. Esteemed participants, if we are to unlock Nigerians' immense export potentials, bearing the label "Made in Nigerian Products" must become synonymous with excellence, reliability, and global competitiveness. I once again commend the Executive Director and her team for all the resource persons for their dedication to strengthening the capacity of Nigerian exporters and advancing our shared vision of prosperous export-led economy. Your efforts are invaluable to positioning Nigeria as a leading and trusted supplier of quality products in international markets. Together, we can build an export sector that is resilient, competitive, and trust across the world. On this note, I declare the 9th edition of the NEPC Connect webinar series officially open and wish you all fruitful deliberations.
Thank you so much, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Chris Osa Osebo, ably represented by Mrs. Gertrude Oji. Thank you so much for your words, sir. He also further reiterated some of the words of the EDCU and laid more emphasis on some of the thoughts that had been established already in her welcome remarks. And he said to us that beyond producing high-value products, we need to have an unwavering commitment to standard, to quality, to international requirements, to traceability of our products. And he charged that this is not just the responsibility of the exporter, it is a shared responsibility. It runs across the producers, the processors, policymakers, certification bodies, etc. It is not just the exporter. If all of us come together and build a formidable force, then we will be able to reduce the rejection of Nigerian exportable products. And truly speaking, these rejections truly undermines our national effort to diversify the nation's exports. And so, as we dive into the technical sections, we now begin to ask the what's, the why's, the how, the solutions. How do we go from here? They say the first point of solving the problem is identifying the problem and knowing why the problem is there in the first place. And the first paper that we're going to listen to seeks to answer some of these very pertinent questions. And there's no better place to start than in-house from the product development department, where we'll be listening very keenly to the director, giving us insight on why do we have exports rejects, what are the causes, and what is the effect on non-oil exports. So ladies and gentlemen, please, this is the time to sit, keep your eye focused on the screen, get a writing pad, get a pen, put down all the points, find out the own points where you need to make adjustments as we welcome the Director of Product Development and Department of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Mr. Mark Fasin Ilueben.
Thank you, the Compre and the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, ably represented by the Director of Investment Promotion. The indefatigable Executive Director, CEO, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, management, staff of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, our esteemed stakeholders, please just permit me to align myself with the already established protocols. And thank you also the Permanent Secretary by Prosi for declaring this Series 9.0 open. So I'm just having a very little task here, but very, very important, because I have to break the ice for the purpose of being here, of our gathering. It's just to have an overview of what export rejects. We can call it export rejection or export reject, okay? What it's all about in terms of the causes, the effects, and of course we're going to provide some solutions. But before we go into the nitty-gritty, I want us to understand that when we're talking about rejection, we are also looking at competitiveness. These two terms, rejection and competitiveness, are two sides of a stick. And they are indirectly proportional to each other. It's a jigsaw. If this one is down, the other one is up. That is, if we have rejection down, that means there is higher competitiveness of our products in the international market. And if you have rejection up, that means the competitiveness will also be low, which of course is going to be affecting our performance as far as non-export is concerned. So what are we talking about when we talk about rejection? We're talking about the denial, simply the denial or the refusal of our export consignments in the importing country because of not being able to meet with the import country requirements. That's just basically what it is. You can imagine you have put in a lot of investment to get your products ready for the market, and unfortunately you get to the international border post and it's either confiscated because of not being able to meet the requirements, or is detained, or or repatriated, taken back to the country. Please, let me have the next slide. So basically, I've just mentioned that as for rejects, is the denied or refused entry of export consignments by importing countries, owing to non-compliance or non-adherence to regulatory requirements. I'm talking about quality and standards specifications. Okay, so what are the key causes? It's very, very straightforward. We have technical inefficiencies. Of course, if you have listened to the keynote address, and of course, the opening of the EDC, you will see that some of these things have been highlighted. But we just have to take us through this. Technical inefficiencies in food safety control regarding handling of agricultural produce. The way we handle our products. How we handle it? Are we handling it with best practices? Post-harvest? Even at the farm gate? What are we doing in the farm? How are we cultivating these crops? And then non-compliance with importing countries' regulatory requirements. Like I keep on telling people that come around and said, export is a buyer market. It is not you, the seller, that determines what goes into the country of an importer. So it is the importer or the buyer that will determine what he wants to buy. So you must see how to comply. Compliance is not a mandate, it's not a choice. It's not an alternative, it's a mandate. You must seek to comply with imported country regulations. Then you have contaminants, chemicals. You hear about pesticide residue. There are some banned chemicals. Chemicals are not supposed to be used at all, they are used. And even the ones that are allowed to be used, they are abused, exceeding what we call the MRL, the maximum residue limit. So once you have such it's already a red flag. We also have biological contaminants, talking about salmonella, bacteria, different bacteria and all that, injurious to health. Mycotoxins, aflatoxins, and all that can also cause rejection at the border posts. Lack of SPS compliance, sanitary and phytosanitary standards. They're not complied with. Definitely you have the case of denial. Poor documentation. Documentation is the export is all about documentation. You must have to get it right from where you start, from your S-works. You must get it right to when the consignment gets to the ship. And of course, the seats. You must get your documentation right. Then poor packaging labeling, you heard that. We keep on talking about packaging, very, very important. Your product is not seen, but the package is seen. How you packaging, how you label. You must put all the information there. Then, of course, we have weak traceability system. That can also lead to rejection. Please, next slide. The effects are enormous. It's just limited by our imagination. When we're talking about the effects. Of course, when the MC was talking about how it affects our image. Of course, the image will be damaged when your product leaves here, it's no longer carrying your name. It carries the country name. And once it gets there, they flag it if it's bad. It's like those days people to travel, they say, when they see your passport, they will now know, let's have second look at this. So that's how it is also with international trade. Market disruptions, of course. There's delay in supply chain and loss of export orders. economic losses, it's unimaginable for us, because we are talking of foreign exchange here. If you can able to penetrate the market, that means you cannot earn forex. You cannot repatriate anything. Lots of opportunities for farmers and exporters, and of course, high costs. I must have to state this before I will stop talking. The costs of rejection is on the exporter. If it is going to be sent back to the country, you pay for the shipment. If it's going to be destroyed at the international border, you pay for the destruction. So why don't you just avoid rejection and do what is right? Follow the best global practices. Next slide. Well, we just have some few statistics. From 2025, when we kept monitoring very closely the notification of rejection by the rapid alert system for food and feed, reported by EU. NAFDAC has actually been doing great work by, sharing this information with us, being the competent authority on getting the alert. So we have over 30 cases of rejections since 2025 to date, and seizures, of course, of agro produce. We have over 10 agro produce, reportedly reflagged, 10 different types of products. All right, and most occurrence we find with sesame. Of course, oil seeds. Oil seeds are really prone to, these rejections. Then we have 10 companies. About 10 companies have been repeatedly indicted by the notification on the EU RAS. And then, countries that are prominent in their rejection. Of course, the EU has very stringent requirements, so you must be able to up your game. You must learn how to up your game. So we have countries like Spain, flagging, Cyprus, Greece, Poland, Latvia, Iceland, the Netherlands. Then issues with consignments, because salmonella is reported, pesticide residue, lack of SPS certification, documentation, certification, regularities, of course, many. And then the effect again is that they can be banned on our imports. For example, we have a case since 2015. Our bean cannot access the EU market, which is a very big market for it, because of the discovery of chemical residue. Solutions, we don't just want to tell you the problem. Solutions, well, capacity building, my EDCO has mentioned that. Don't want to bore you on that. GAP, good agricultural practices. GSP, good storage practices. GHP, good hygiene practices, and all that. And then certification, relevant certification, very, very important. And then collaboration and partnership with development partners. And, like I said, stakeholder engagements, sensitization and all that. Then carry out a lot of advocacies and interventions. So, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stop at this point and to encourage us to, see how to comply, abide by best practices accepted globally. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, the Director of Product Development Department, for that overview. Over 30 cases of rejections and seizure of agro products, over 10 agro produces repeatedly flagged, over 10 companies indicted, EU being one of the markets that has the most of the stringent rules. We have heard this is what rejection is, these are the causes, and he has also given credence to some of the solutions that we need to adhere to. And I hope that as we go on in the discourse of today, we will receive even more insight into what needs to be done to ensure that these records that we have for 2025 are brought down to the barest minimum. And so we'll begin to hit on the first point, quality and product standardization. The next technical paper will be looking at the pillars of zero export reject strategy. And to handle that paper, I have from the African Quality Assurance Center, a business development and sales coordinator, who possesses 15 years of progressive experience across the agri-food value chain. He has been actively involved in promoting the African Quality Assurance Center Laboratory, championing laboratory testing, inspection, and quality assurance services targeted at enhancing export competitiveness and food safety standards across Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome to your screen and to the microphone, Mr. Lawal Mohammed, with a very warm round of applause. Thank you. Mr. Lawal will be speaking to us in the next 10 minutes on quality and product standardization. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be in this forum with you all. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. Good day to the distinguished DG of NEPC and other team members of NEPC. And it's an honor to be in this forum with you all to discuss on quality and product standardization, all in the bid to promote quality competitiveness in global markets. So to delve deeper into the action point of quality and product standardization, first I would like to speak about what quality implies and also product standardization. Quality is an ongoing process of building and sustaining relationship by assessing and anticipating, fulfilling and implying stated needs. While product standardization is a systemic process of creating and applying uniform rules to ensure consistent item quality across all markets. So, the export rejection challenge. Why do export rejections occur? One, we all know that export rejection is rarely caused by a single failure, and that failure often reflects gaps across the entire value chain. And the key risk areas, what are the key risk areas? One, failure to meet destination market requirements. We all know that all destination markets have their specifics and standards for export. So also, in terms of pesticide residues and chemical contaminants, we all know that every region have their maximum residual limits in which they tolerate. Just as the previous speaker who spoke about pesticide residue, we all know that EU are very stringent when it comes to pesticide residue and chemical contaminants. And in terms of mycotoxins and heavy metals, every region and every destination market have their tolerance level in terms of mycotoxins and heavy metals. So also applies to microbiological hazards. Like across in the AU market, salmonella is of high concern to EU target market. Also, inconsistent product quality. When product quality is not being met, there is bound for export rejects to happen. Poor packaging, labeling and traceability is also a key risk area, and inadequate testing and documentation. But on this point, it's important to utilize a reliable and accredited ISO 17025 laboratory for the testing and also documentation. And documentation, which also implies the phytosanitary certificate, the certificate of origin, and certificate of conformity. All these, when put in place, would ameliorate the export rejection challenge. Strategic shift. There needs to be a shift in the paradigm of reactive testing at the point of export, and to embed a preventive quality management across the entire value chain. 4 pillars of zero export rejection. Building quality into the export process. Among the 4 pillars here, we have the market intelligence, product standardization, risk-based testing, and conformity assessment. Market intelligence. There is need for one to understand the requirements, standard, buyer specification, and conformity assessment of market you are targeting. Product standardization. There is also need to define and obtain consistent measures in terms of identifying the composition, purity, quality, and quality, safety, and packaging. And risk-based testing. Testing critical parameters based on product risk, supply chain vulnerabilities, and destination market requirements. Conformity assessment. There is need to patronize a competent testing, inspection, and certification service agent to verify compliance before shipment. The core principle here is produce to the right standard, test against the right requirements, and verify before export. Quality across the value chain. Quality must be built in and not tested in. That's the key takeaway on this, based on this slide. One, quality must be built in right from the farm to fork. While starting from the farm or raw materials, good agricultural practice must be put in place to achieve quality in the system. Sorry. Controlled inputs. There is need to adhere strictly to the dosage administrations on whatever input you are applying on the farm. Good harvesting practices. You need to adopt good harvesting practices. Processing. Good manufacturing processes must be put in place. Good hygienic process. Process control. Supplier management. Testing and verification. Accurate sampling, which will be a true representation of the commodities in place. Risk-based laboratory testing. Reliable results. Certification and documentation. Inspection, certification, traceability, export documentation. So now to the market. At this point, when all these things are put in place, you will be rest assured that your product is highly compliant based on the destination market. You win the confidence of your buyer, and you have the confidence of reduced rejection. So, based on this value chain, every stage is a quality control point. An integrated quality ecosystem. Zero rejection requires collective action, starting from government and regulators in terms of policy, regulation, and its enforcement, down to the standard bodies who enact the standard specifications and also the harmonization of all these standards and specifications, to accredited laboratories, which are ISO 17025 accredited, with reliable testing, competent analysis, and technical evidence, thereby having a COA, Certificate of Analysis. Inspection and certification bodies, conformity assessment, verification, certification, farmers and processors, quality production, standardized processes, and exporters and buyers, market requirement, traceability, that is end-to-end supply chain records and compliance. Desired outcome, one coordinated quality ecosystem results to trusted and competitive export. So here is the zero export reaction model. I believe this slide will be shared to the participants and they'll be able to have a holistic view of what this topic is all about. So based on having spoken on this zero export rejection, I would like to introduce to you the African Quality Assurance Center, which is your trusted partner when it comes to testing, inspection, and certification. The African Quality Assurance Center is an initiative of Afreximbank to promote made-in-African products to ensure their compliance with international standards. So thereby, the African Quality Assurance Center is operated by a technical partner in Bureau Veritas. And Bureau Veritas is a global leader in testing, inspection, and certification services with over 1,500 offices and laboratories in more than 140 countries. And they have been in existence close to 200 years. And so, why do you have to choose the African Quality Assurance Center as your trusted partner? The African Quality Assurance Center is ISO 17025 accredited and is a proud partner of Bureau Veritas with 190 plus years of global reputation, and it's having 16 accredited tests across microbiology and chemistry. So here are capabilities in terms of testing based on microbiological testing, chemistry and contaminant testing, So also water quality assurance, agricultural support, which includes soil analysis, fertilizer testing, irrigation water quality assessment, and pre-harvest safety verification. How ACAC unlocks market access. Our certificate is your passport. It meets international buyer and regulatory requirements. It builds importer confidence through third-party verification, thereby reducing hesitation and seals long-term partnership. What do you have to wait for? I believe everyone here and listeners on this forum will always want their product to be a premium brand, thereby achieving the right passport for export. So why don't you call on to us at the African Quality Assurance Center Laboratory with our contact details shared on the screen for you to achieve zero rejections on your product. You can easily reach out to the following contacts on this screen, and so also you can reach out to me here in Abuja at the Affecting Bank Africa Trade Center. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you to NEPC. Long live Nigeria, long live NEPC, and long live the Affecting Bank Africa Trade Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawal Mohammed, a Business Development and Sales Coordinator with the African Quality Assurance Center. Now we're going to take a short break. I need you to go refill your cup of tea if you want to. Make that call that you're itching to make quickly. Sort out whatever you need to sort out in the next 5 minutes, and we'll be back on your screen to continue the sessions for today. And I would also like us to note that the NEPC would work very closely with the African Quality Assurance Center to help and give access to some of our exporters to testing of their products in Bureau Veritas. We'll talk more about that when we come back from our break. Please take that short break now, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. As they business. Thank you. We please have just about 2 minutes to settle in so that we take the next paper, a very important part of this. Thank you. The representative of NAFDAC seated in-house, please, you could join us on this side of the divide. Thank you. Mrs. Chizoba Madragona from NAFDAC, Deputy Director, Greater FCT, please join us on this side. Okay, so I think it's safe for us to get into the next paper. And the person who's seated here for this next paper, I think she was here at the last webinar. Yes, she was here when we looked at EU regulations, and she made a lot of very strong points, some salient points, some very, very strong points. And I must say her presentation was something to look back on during the 8.0 series of the Re-Energized series. And today she's here again, and she'll be taking us on, if you realize, all the presenters have been reiterating phytosanitary, sanitary and phytosanitary compliance is being a key factor to every discussion that we've had here this morning. And she'll be further exploring what does this mean, the compliance to sanitary and phytosanitary protocols, which is the key to achieving zero reject in agricultural exports. Please, let's make welcome an Assistant Comptroller of Quarantine with the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, Mrs. Rosemary Uche Oguneme. Please a warm round of applause for her. Thank you. And she has 10 minutes, if possible, in less time, to get this information across to us. Thank you, ma'am. You are welcome.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. We want to appreciate the management of NEPC for this opportunity. Like the representative of the Permanent Secretary did say, that the issue of compliance as it relates to import and export, it is not a key, it's not a single agency thing. It is actually a national obligation. So looking at the topic that we have today, compliance to SPS protocols, the key to achieving zero rejects in agricultural produce. What is compliance? Is this working? Okay, so our topic is compliance. We want to look at what compliance is. Compliance to sanitary and phytosanitary protocols means adhering to measures established to protect plant health and life, animal health, and human health, while facilitating international trade. When we talk about SPS, we have 3 key components there: the sanitary and the phytosanitary measures. While the sanitary looks at human health and food safety, the phytosanitary looks at the plant health. And this is a protocol under the World Trade Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement. World Trade Organization came into being in 1995, and that agreement on application of sanitary and phytosanitary also came into being. Nigeria signed to that agreement to protect its plant health, animal health, and food safety. it also interests you to know that these key areas are being split into 3. For the plant health, we have a global international community called the International Plant Protection Convention that takes care of the international protocols around plant health. For the food safety, we have the Codex Alimentarius, look at the issues of food safety globally. And for animal health, we have World Organization for Animal Health, formerly known as OIE, that looks at international standard for animal health. So a lot of these, the presenters this morning, the presenter and the speakers have talked about reasons why our shipments get turned back. We have MRI levels that are being exceeded. Every country, according to that agreement on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, countries are sovereign, and it means that as a country, you have the right to set an MRI level that will help you achieve your country's appropriate level of protection. So if you feel, if you feel that let's say for the issue of some of the organophosphate, like the EU will say for their MRI level is 0.02. What it means is that you don't bring in any commodity that has more than the residue of that organophosphate, more than 0.02 into their country. If you do, they will reject it. Remember that standards, while standards are voluntary, regulations are mandatory. You must comply. If you want to trade with us, as we have set it, you must comply to it. If you don't comply to it, we do our due diligence, and that is when you say that these shipments have been rejected, because you are supposed to comply. So if you don't comply, we'll reject it, we'll send it back, we'll destroy it at your own expense. So we have documentation errors. A lot has been said about this. Prohibited the import of cola or the import of any material Okay, let's say, for example, now Nigeria, we have banned import on cassava stems. Why? We know that cassava is one of the Nigerian staple. And within the borders of Nigeria, we have a disease called brown streak virus. And recently, cassava mosaic, East Africa cassava mosaic virus, the Ugandan strain. We have these diseases, we don't want them in Nigeria. They're in our borders, because if this disease is introduced, Nigeria runs the risk of losing that sector. So we have said we don't want cassava stems. So if we bring in cassava stem, we'll destroy it at port of entry. That is our regulation. We expect every country to respect that and comply with that. So that is what happened when we also trade with other countries. They have commodities they don't want you to bring. They have thresholds in terms of MRR that they have set. You shouldn't exceed it. When you exceed it, they have that obligation to say, no, we do not want it. So 4 pillars of zero reject. I think we have had some pillars this morning. So it's going to be a lot of pillars that we must comply. So 4 pillars to zero reject, we say farm level control. Like the previous speaker said, it has to be from farm to fork. It has to be a whole value chain. It has to be covered. So at the farm level, what do? You adopt good agricultural practices. Because at the end of the day, at the farm level, sometimes it's where the MRI levels are exceeded. Sorry, please. So at the farm level, you continue to pour. We have incidences of pests. And farmers, they don't want to lose their produce to pests. So you continue to pour pesticide. You continue to pour pesticide. You continue to pour pesticide. No. We are advocating for integrated pest management. While you do pesticide, do cultural practices, do biological practices, a lot of them you can do IPM. When you do IPM, you will not overshoot on your MRI level. So we start at the farm level. Also, there is what we call free period. When you apply pesticide, another thing is to apply pesticide. Another thing is to allow for the window to expire. Some pesticide will need up to 7 days to allow that pesticide to ward off on the plant. But you see that some people will apply pesticide today. The next 2 days they are harvesting. That pesticide is still on that commodity. So that's why we have a lot of the MRI level. So we talk about post-handling. So the director mentioned that our beans is banned for export. Yes, our beans problem happened at the post-harvest level, at the storage level, because you know we have incidences of Calosubrucus. It's a very bad pest, storage pest, so it affects the beans, and you see them, they multiply in their millions. So you see farmers continue to pour pesticide. Like beans, the problem happened at storage level. Also, testing and certification, there must be confirmation. If you must export, you must do testing. And you are not going to be running 101 million tests, because there are a lot of tests to run on a product. You are going to be running a test based on the conditions of importation that the country of import has given you. Yes, so let's assume you want to trade with EU, and they have told you that MRI level has to be 0.2. So you must test to confirm that that MRI level is not exceeded before you trade with EU. And also note that EU have said that MRI level is 0.2, and you want to trade with Brazil, you still go and do 0.2. No, sir. No, ma. Brazil have their own MRI level. It is your obligation to find out, or you work with the National Plant Protection Organization, who has communication with the National Plant Protection of Brazil that you are trading with, to find out the requirements you need to bring in that commodity. So number 4 is monitoring and market intel. After all due diligence is met, you don't just go to the port and submit your consignments. You have to follow up, because at the end of the day, some follow-up we have done, the problem does not even happen at the testing. At the testing, everything is clean. But at the port, some of them, they forget their product there. The agents will forget them. Maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Remember that this is airtight. There are a lot of things happening. Plants are living beings. That's when they talk about plants. They talk about plant life and health. They are living beings. So you leave them at the point of exit, the commodities are free. But something can happen between the airport and the arrival airport. A lot of things. There can be cross-infestation. There can be re-infestation. And when this thing happens, upon arrival, your commodity will be deemed unfit, even though it has been certified clean before leaving the shores of Nigeria. So what we talk about farm level, I think we have looked at this. We say farm level control and good practices. We talk about approved inputs, pre-harvest interval disciplines, worker training and field record, buffer zone, and sanitation zone. We talked about that. Testing and certification. We talked about pre-export lab testing, valid phytosanitary certificate, country-specific paperwork. We should have details for reference and for follow-up. You should have your paperwork on a particular shipment that you have done. And we talk about document shipment match. So continuous monitoring and market intelligence, we say you should track destination market rules. That is statutory. If you must trade, you must know the rules and regulations of the country you are trading with. We talked about internal audit, mock inspection, rejection root causes analysis. Okay, we have, as the NPP of Nigeria, Nigeria Agri Quarantine Service has actually looked critically at these root causes of reject. You know, some of the exporters, I don't know if they are not being sincere, but some will claim that the shipment, that they receive money on their shipment, they get paid, that most of the rejection happen at the importing country's port. At this point, we want to even bring to the knowledge of the director, some of the exporters are suspended, especially for the past 3 months. This second quarter of the alert that came out, we have a lot of issue with the system. So a number of them are suspended. They will continue to trade other products, but for sesame, they cannot trade until we find out what actually is the problem. If not, we risk a ban on sesame. Okay, So a practical roadmap to zero reject. Assess. We say map current practices against the SPS duties of every target market and find the gaps. What applies to Brazil does not apply to the Netherlands. What applies to Mexico does not apply to US. These countries are all sovereign, so you relate with them according to their regulations they have set on that commodity. And we talk about standardized. Write down good agricultural practice, hygiene, and record-keeping procedures so that they don't depend on memory. You know, and you also need, when you write them, you will be able to pass to the next person, because we know how employment works. Your employee today might not be your employee tomorrow. So, but when you have passed down in terms of written down documents, the next person that's coming can take up and read. But when you just give verbal, when the person is going, the person goes away with the knowledge. But when it is written down, the next person can have access to also read. Then verify. Build pre-export testing and certification in the process, not as an afterthought. You know, some people, you know, we receive a lot of funny calls. Someone will call you, oh, please, my commodity has just taken off. Please, I need phytosanitary. Sorry, we cannot issue the certificate. It's not supposed to be an afterthought. That should be the #1 thing you must build in. Because for you to assess phytosanitary certificate, you must meet all due diligence. We must inspect that commodity. Sometimes, like even some commodities, we are that stringent to the field, like the fresh vegetables. Nigeria exports fresh vegetables in their metric tons from Lagos every other day except Thursday. But every other day, export of fresh vegetables, the likes of ugu, ewedu, shoko, green leaf, tete, there is water leaf. There's nothing, there is nothing you will not see. They export there. And these farmers are monitored to their farm. We fumigate, we fumigate their products with them. We stay with them when they harvest, because we must observe that window. It is that serious. So it's not an afterthought that you are finished. You know, say, oh, please give me phyto. Sorry, we will not give you. And that's why you see the person will still export. Or some of them will enter a lower market in Lagos and go and get the fake one. And when you see countries, they are serious. You don't introduce a disease to us and at the end of the day we'll risk our agricultural economy. No. You might think that, no, you can't play around standard. You can't play around regulation. You can't play with pests. You can't play with pests. Okay, what happened in Nigeria? Sometimes we didn't have tomato. What happened? Nobody asked that question. We had a pest being introduced. What happened to our ginger? The ginger that you buy 5,000 before now, you buy it 50,000 now. What is it? This is a result of introduction of pests. And people cannot continue to open their borders to introduction of pests. That is why you see EU every now and again, they are coming up with more stringent regulation, because they know that their existence depends on this food. So you cannot afford to ask for certificates as an afterthought. That should be part of what you should build in. So like I will finally round up, zero reject is a system. It is not an inspection. Every rejected shipment is a signal that a link in the chain, field, pack house, lab, paperwork, broke down. Exporter who treats SPS compliance as a continuous farm-to-port discipline, not a final checkpoint, or the ones who could be access to premium market. It's not an afterthought. You must build it in. As you are talking with your uptaker on the commodity, you're already planning procedures to comply with SPS measures. And that is the last slide. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Rosemary Uche Oguneme. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Always giving insights and very practical examples to her paper presentation. It said zero reject is a system, not an inspection. And you cannot treat your sanitary and phytosanitary certification as an afterthought. It must be put into consideration from farm to port. It's important. And she has told us, it's very clear, regulations are mandatory. It's not can I, should I. It's not negotiable. It is mandatory. While she was talking, a thought came to mind because, I mean, she's been saying some things that we've listened to several speakers say, and he just hits my head that the quote from Zig Ziglar, yes, he says repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishments. So don't get bored if you keep hearing the same things. Let it sink in. Let it sink in so that you can build and build right. Thank you so much again, Mrs. Oguneme. We move on quickly. We've done a lot of theoretical, a lot of the agencies, critical stakeholders speaking. Let's now hear from somebody who wears the shoes that exporters wear. What has been her experience as an exporter? Has she dealt with reject? How did she handle it? What caused it? If she hasn't, what has she done to bring her to this point? Joining us virtually from Oyo State, I want to believe, is the MD CEO, Oakland Best Limited, and she'll be sharing her experience with us. Please let's make welcome Mrs. Elizabeth Olarewaju Nwankwo.
National Assembly, they will just tell me to take a bow because the use of discussion this morning has been talked about by previous speakers. I am to talk on the implication of rejects on market access for non-oil exports. Okay, that is is this working? Okay. I'll just flip through my slides because I have 16 slides for 5 minutes. And like I said, a lot of things have been said on export reject. I'll just support what other speakers have talked about. The issue of rejects actually is not only at the border. You know, it's cut across the value chains from pre-shipment to the border to the destination. But that's a pertinent question to ask. If we have control, why rejects? Our regulatory agencies, if we have control before shipment, why rejects? For example, if you are an exporter of cocoa, there are parameters you need to comply with, and there are government agencies that will go and do the testing to ensure that you meet those particular parameters. It can be in terms of the moisture content, it can be in terms of the defects, it can be in terms of the salinity. So if there are controls, then why rejects? It's possible to reject even at the warehouse. That is why sometimes we have what we call the clean certificate of inspection. If your goods do not meet the requirements or the standards, then it's not to be rejected. So rejection is not only at the border when the goods have crossed, you know, the shore of a particular country. It cut across the value chain. But like I said, the pertinent question is that if we have controls, if we have regulation, why do we have rejects in export destinations? Now, reject is not just a failed shipment. It's a signal to importers and regulators that the supply chain has weak controls. For buyers of raw products, when your products are being rejected, it shows that your country lacks control. Just like I said, that if you have control, why do we have rejects? So I want us to ponder on this. You know, and this presupposes that there are weak control or some exporters are cutting corners. So these are things I want us to, as exporters, you know, as regulatory agencies and stakeholders, all these pertinent questions, we should have it at the back of our mind, and we should try and answer those questions. Now, okay, these are various non-oil export products which we are all conversant with. Now, where rejects originate across the export chain, like I said the other time, you can see it can be from the farm, it can be from the processing, it can be from packaging, it can be from documentation. There was a time we had a study tour to ports in the UK to find out why Nigerian products are being rejected. We realized that it's not even because of the quality, it's because of a lack of proper documentation. So reject is not about quality, compliance, documentation too, not providing the essential documents or the significant documents that will make the products to transit, you know, to their destinations. So it's a kind of value chain, issue. Now, core causes of export rejects, which has been talked about by previous speakers, excessive pesticide residues, like when we have the issue of diclovers, you know, paraquats in sesame. You know, those are, you know, when we have excessive use of those what is it called? Chemicals, you know, it leads to rejects. Also macrobials contamination, you know, attacks of aflatoxin, the salmonella, and sometimes some of these things are even as a sort of poor infrastructure. Because there was a time we got some alerts on salmonella from some exporters, and we traced, you know, the cause to the fact that where those products are being processed for exports, there are no toilets there. And salmonella come from human feces or animal feces. So these are issues that lead to reject because of lack of infrastructure. Poor packaging and labeling too can lead to such, you know. incomplete export documentation, I talked about this before now, and failure to meet, importing country standards, requirements. The EU, they have their own specific standards that needs to be complied with, and traceability defections, which is very key, Most of our products are sourced from open markets. That is why the council is promoting, the establishment of clusters, whereby when we have cluster production, you'll be able to track your production to those clusters. So if there are defects, if there are issues, then we can bring up control, not punitive measures, but control measures, to remediate the identified issues. Now, implication for market access, loss of buyers' confidence. You have to do a lot for you to get, the confidence of your buyers. Sometimes it's not even about you. And our resource person from Quarantine was talking about some exporters being suspended. Sometimes countries will be suspended, not even exporters. Look at the case of the peanut we're talking about. Just if you, a minute, in terms of export performance, just a insignificant quantity of peanuts were rejected, were banned. But look at the effect on the countries now. Even cowpea, the same thing, So restriction of exports and loss of revenues, sincerely, you are losing your investments, because most times those consignments are being destroyed. So you are losing your investment, so loss of revenue. And even for the country too, it's going to reduce the forex earnings, So increase inspections, yes, there will be strict regulations. We had experience when I was in Lagos in those days that some people did some food items to Canada, and inside the container they put bushmeat, And by the time they look at it, the bushmeat got rotten. Normally they will not check that consignment, but they just did some sampling and discovered that bushmeat with maggots. So because of that, they don't, they don't put it, make it mandatory that all consignments must be checked. So stricter measures, stricter regulations will be adopted. Another thing is higher compliance, cost, because you don't have to do a lot of documentation to ensure that whatever you are bringing out is, complies with standards. So economic impact of regions, loss of export revenue, reduced foreign exchange earnings, loss of employment, increased logistic costs, damage to all these things have been discussed. For the country image suffers. I will tell you what we are, on this issue of cowpea, the amount of money the country has spent to rebrand ourselves. I'll go to that slide. Other to negotiate contract, yes. Who wants to buy from a loser? Nobody. Importers switch suppliers. Yeah, they will neglect you and go to some other buyers. Reduce investors' confidence. Let's forget about the international market. Even locally, if you go to a restaurant, you go to a restaurant and what you consume there leads to you purging. Will you go back there? You will not go. So there's consciousness about human consumptions all over the world. That is why when they say products are organic, people pay more for organic products. So there's that awareness on what you eat. So that is the reason why, the issue of rejects is a global thing that must be, tackled frontally. Impact on exporter, I've talked about this before. Role of regulatory agencies. All of us, all our hands must be on deck. The NEPC, we have to start, like the director of PDD our technical sections. A lot of things have been done. We have the CDS 845, we have the 172, we have the Zero Reject Committee. All these are efforts to ensure that we mitigate rejects and to show to our buyers that we are doing something. There's this Nigerian EU Trade and Investment Dialogue. We have to go there to convince them that we are doing something on this reject. We have to present a position paper from the NEPC. I made that presentation to show them that we are working, we are not resting on our horse. to ensure that we have wholesome products for export market. Quarantine is there. Madam just left, you know. NAFDAC, SON, the customs service. All of us, we have duties to play to ensure that, so those are the rule of it. So that's, if there are controls, then why do we have rejects? You see that there are agencies are complicit? You see that our exporters are doing shortcuts? You know Nigerian factor, Oluwale? Yeah. So, preventive measures, I think we've talked about GAP, that's GAP training, GMP, certification, packaging. I think our expert on something is good on certification. Traceability is there, HACCP, test, all those gamut of certification we use, we need to, because apart from the man from ACAC was here, some exporters, apart from NAFDAC, SO, NEQS, they want their own certifiers. That is where Blue Veritas come in, or SGS. Those are independent certifiers to ensure that what you are bringing out is what is expected. Quality infrastructure, digital, yeah, we need infrastructure, very, very important. Infrastructure, you know, and traceability systems. Yeah, this is the Nigerian-European Union Trade and Investment Dialogue in Brussels. We were there. Why am I bringing this up? Look at Nigerian delegates there. Do you know how much the country spent to sponsor people, you know, officials of agency, to go and convince the EU that our products are now good for export, just to unban cowpea. Because it's not only about cowpea now, it's going to spread to some other products. Will not be known as country of non-compliance. So we had to go there to start talking grammar and showing them videos of what we have done. I showed the video of 845. Thank you, Director PDD. You know, the zero reject something just to convince them. You know, so and yeah, and yeah, I think they said I should talk about the EU draft too, European Union Deforestation Regulations. You know. That one has been on since 2023, and the deadline is December 2026 for some large-scale and medium-scale exporters of cattle, cocoa, palm oil, wood, coffee, soy, and rubber. You know, they must do mappings, and the essence to show that, because you see, some countries have really gone far. When we are still talking about building of rules, building of provision of water, some are even talking of animal rights. How do you treat your goat and dog? Do you understand? Now, these people are talking about afforestation. Are you signatories to the convention that if you cut a tree, you plant it? Are you not destroying our forest because you want to plant your sesame and coffee? What is the impact on the ozone layers? So, by the end of this particular year, the European Union will request from Nigerian exporters EU do our compliance. We went there also to beg them, please. This thing costs money. No, but I have good news for us. I think we are partnering with NASDAQ, you know, and some companies, some big cocoa exporters, they've embarked on that. But we are talking about even the small holders. Because if you look at Nigeria, we don't have mass plantations. What we do is that we aggregate from small holders. Now, if you are talking of EUDR from those small holders, then where would they have the money? A farmer in those states, in Ileoluji, where will they get the money to do geomapping? So we appeal to EU, you have to come to our aid to do those geomappings, you know, so that, or even to support the exporters, or to support agencies like NEPC, you know, to assist those farmers, those, you know, to do geomappings for them to be able to comply with the deadline of December 2026. So recommendations, yeah, we have to strengthen our quality infrastructure, increase laboratory capacity, Africa Quality Assurance is there, enhance interagency collaboration, we have to work together, like we did under the Zero Reject Committee, and the 845 Technical Committee too, they are working together. Improve exporters' awareness, like we are doing now. We have to create that awareness. We have to promote the traceability is very, very important. It must be able to trace where the problem, the source of the problem. for corrective measure and for not punitive. But sometimes you try to trace some of these exporters, you don't even get them. Their addresses are, I don't understand. Yeah? So you have to support SMEs like we are doing as a country. So I think, conclusively, export quality determines market access. Like the director said the other time, it's between market, what do you say? Competence and, it's like a weight. If one is up, one will be down. So export quality determines market access. Preventing rejects increases competitiveness. That is what it talks about. Our compliance is essential for sustainable non-export growth. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, Director of Market Access Department of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Mr. Akitunde Folorunso, for that paper presentation. One point I'm taking out of here from his paper is rejects points to a lack of control. And he made a clarion call, if I must say, to all the regulatory agencies that need to work together to ensure that we have control within our export community, the NEPC, of course, NAFDAC, SON, NAQS, and the Nigerian Customs Service. The onus lies on us. We need to make sure that we reduce this as much as we can because, like you said, any lack of trust that we create in any nation actually leads to stricter measures. So instead of making matters easier for us, we worsen it. Once we break just the single trust, we go back to struggling again. And so we must do all that we need to do as regulatory agencies of the country, Nigeria, to ensure that we reduce rejects as much as possible. He says market access is end at the borders, but it is lost through rejects, and we don't want that to be our situation in this country. Thank you so much, sir, for those insights. We go further, and this time we're sort of putting a spotlight on a particular sector and a particular produce for exports. Now we want to look very closely at the fishery and aquaculture exports. What are the compliance regulatory systems that control this sector? What are the international safety standards that are required for this sector? And of course, you would agree with me that there is no better ministry fit to handle this than the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. And we have, speaking to us this morning, an Assistant Director at the Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture from that ministry. Please let's make welcome Madam Abdullah Hafsat as she takes the next paper presentation. A warm round of applause for her, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. Please permit me to stand on an existing protocol. The Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, now in the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. You know, for a long time we are still in the agri sector. When you're talking of agricultural sector, fisheries cannot be removed from it. But we are currently in the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. And for your information, anything that has to do with fisheries and aquaculture products, it is the Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture that is in charge as far as Nigeria is concerned. The department is the competent authority. Okay. Today we are looking at regulatory compliance and international safety standards for sustainable fisheries and aquaculture exports from Nigeria. Now, okay. Export competitiveness rests on trust, traceability, and verified safety at every point in the value chain. As everyone has been saying, and I believe we've all been listening attentively, we say from farm to fork, from production right to when it gets to the consumer who takes it at the end of the day. So, 3 pillars that define this system. We have food safety, market access, and sustainable resource management. In the export of fisheries products, these are very, very specific things that are considered by the international communities where the fishery products are taken to. That is the food safety. We have the codex-based control, HACCP, that is the hazard assessment, assets and critical control points, cold chain management, and residue monitoring. These keep our products safe, our consumers at home and abroad. When the safety is assured, you know you are taking a healthy diet. Market access. For market access, we have what is called country listing. The international community, the countries you are sending your products to, they have to be listed among the countries or the companies that can bring your products to them. The competent authority assurance. They have to be sure that there is a competent authority in that country, that is in Nigeria, that is in charge, that controls, that certifies those products that gets to their country. These approved establishments and valid health certificates keep consignments moving. If you don't have a valid certificate from the competent authority, your consignment will be rejected. Even if you feel you met up with the standards and they are going, if you do not get your certificate from the Federal Department of Fisheries, your consignment will not be honored. It will be sent back to you. That's as far as fisheries is concerned. Sustainable resource management. We have IUU controls. Responsible aquaculture and environmental safeguards to secure future supply. This is to also sustain domestic food security and the growth of exports. Take, for instance, EU, USA. If your fish product that comes came through IUU fishing is illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. That means the vessel from where that fish was caught is not registered with the fisheries department. It doesn't have the number. That means there was no proper documentation from the department saying, yes, this product came through us. Your product will not be accepted. So those are things you need to take note of when you are thinking of exporting your fisheries product to the international community. Now let's come to the department now. Federal Department of Fisheries is the leading sub-Saharan producer of catfish, African catfish. Nigeria is the leader in that aspect. Aquaculture, catfish. The total fish production of Nigeria is 1.4 million, though we need about 3.6 million to feed the population. So our production is very, very much low. And we use import to cover this. So this is a very, very green opportunity, very, very fallow for us investors to go into aquaculture to see how we can bridge this gap to reduce the imports that we bring into the country. As we think of exporting, we should also think about our local markets to feed the citizens in the country. And this aquaculture output is about 303,000. That is the contribution to that 1.4 million metric ton that the country produced. This is 2025 data. Now, who does what in the export control system? I need us to pay attention. The Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture issues all export health certificates for fish. And we're talking about fish. We have the shellfish and the finfish. It's not just only the fish, catfish, shower cote when we are talking about fish. Talk of shrimps, talk of squid, lobsters, they are all fish. And it is the Federal Department of Fisheries that is in charge. If you don't pass through Fisheries Department, when you hear of reject, they will say, oh, fisheries of consignment were destroyed and they did not receive them. It's because they didn't pass through the department. Any export, fish export that passed through Fisheries Department has never been rejected. We've never had any case of such from our Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. But they cut corners and follow other areas, sure, it will be sent back. NAFDAC, we collaborate with NAFDAC. NAFDAC, they control like the feed that comes in, they are in charge. The feed that is used to feed the fish in the ponds, they are in charge of that. Registration and control of food and domestic food on domestic market. It does not certify fish for export. Take note, NAFDAC does not certify fish for export. So if you go to NAFDAC, you say you've been certified, don't be surprised when your product is sent back. Some, they are in charge of the infrastructure, the laboratories to ensure that they are standard. They are not certifying fisheries products. The NEPC, it exports. They are general regulators when it comes to exporting goods from the country out. Agricultural Quarantine Service, a baby of the Department of Fisheries, they are at the ports, the borders, to check what comes in and what goes out. You, as an exporter, when you take your fish here, the one is to check to ensure that you have your health certificate from the Federal Department of Fisheries. They are not the one issuing you health certificate to take your fish outside. Legal and international framework. The Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, we have the Sea Fisheries Act 1992, though very old, we are still working on the review so that we can meet so that we can be current, but things have changed. 1992, that is a long time ago. It controls and regulates, protects sea fisheries in Nigerian waters, licensing of fishing vessels, etc. Then we have the Fish Inspection and Quality Assurance Regulation of 1995, amended in 2013. This one talks about hygiene, handling, certification rules. In this particular regulation, you have it, no fish may leave Nigeria without compliance to the rules and guidelines that are in these regulations. The authority procedures. We have the official SOPs, that is standard operating procedures which must be followed if you want to export your fish. Inspections, plant approval, sampling protocols, health certificates, workflow, and stuffing controls. The department, they do all this. The basic thing is, as an exporter or an intending exporter of fisheries and fishery products, just visit the fisheries department. You will be enlightened, you will be told, you will be tutored on the steps, the necessary steps you need to take, what you need to do, how you should go about it, and when you do it like this, you are covered. On the international level, Codex Alimentarius, the World Trade Organization, SPS, HACCP, we work with them. We are signatories to all these organizations, and we comply to the standards that are there. The ISO 22000, World Organization on Animal Health, and the FAO PSMA, that is the Pulse Measures Agreement. Nigeria is a signatory to this, and we uphold all these standards. These are all to control IUU, to ensure that things that come from us are standard. We don't disrupt the environment. We don't, talking about mammals, safety of mammals, extinct animals, aquatic organisms that are going extinct. We have what we call the TED, total excluder devices, such that the vessels that ply our water bodies, they have the type of net that they use. There's a regulation, the mesh net size. You have the turtle TED, total excluder devices, that are attached to ensure that if turtle gets captured along, it can escape. If sharks, mammals, if they can escape so that they are not caught along with other fish. And if you maintain the standard of the mesh size, you don't scoop fries, fingerlings, the young ones that are to grow for tomorrow. You don't harvest them along the line. Now, one defining requirement for each destination, the country you are exporting to determines the rules, just as the previous presenters have mentioned. If it is the EU you want to export to, get to know their requirements, then you stick to it. If it's America, you know it and you stick to it. And for information, Nigeria, capture fish, that is wild fish, the one that are harvested from the water bodies, are exported seamlessly without any problem. The only area we are still having some issues is cultured fin fish. That is like catfish, tilapia that are cultured. We still have some problem because of this AMR residue testing. The lab, our lab, though is ISO certified, as ISO 17025 certified, but the antimicrobial residue, we still don't have the capacity to do it. For the shellfish, the shrimps, the company is buoyant enough and they can sponsor it. The samples are taken out for testing with a standard laboratory there. Then when they come back, they package and their products are exported there without any problem. Now, access to the world's largest seafood importer. EU rules are harmonized across all the states. All the EU states, I'm sorry. Yes, I want to go back. It's not going. Okay. U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food Safety and Inspection Service covers catfish only. But the Food and Drugs Administration, they are in charge of the other seafoods. So all that, okay. U.S. the equivalent, not seafood. It's not only for seafood and it's not only HACCP when it comes to catfish that is cultured. But other seafood, they are free. Just need to follow the seafood HACCP and import verification, product identification, labeling and species declaration, designation specific, that is US import controls apply here. Catfish recovery is a separate work stream, which is what I just mentioned here now. Catfish, they have their own special terms and we are still working on that one, especially because of that antimicrobial residue. That's what is giving us issues. How compliance is achieved and evidence. Hazard control is what everyone is hammering on. HACCP control plans, approved source. Where do you get your fish from? When it comes to fishery, approved vessels. The vessels are registered, so we know it is from these vessels. The canoes are registered. The coastal artisanal, those are fish there, they are registered. So our inspectors go out with these people. They know when the trawling vessels, they arrive and these people come to collect fish from them, everything is documented. Then there is laboratory verification. So let me hurry up because of the time. Yeah, so seventh, okay, yeah, let me come to this now. The 7 stages from market choice to export clearance. I think this area is very necessary. Let me check this thing here. The 7 stages, A, B, C, D, is very, very essential for standard. Talking about the market access is no one size fits all. We've passed this. This slide, everything has. No, it's not there. It's just the summary that is there. The 7 stages, because we had to reduce the slides. I just want to rush you down, then I will conclude, yes. Because when it comes to now, the 7 stages from market choice to export clearance. Market requirements. You identify the target market. Is it USA, Europe, Africa, Asia? Then its competent authority for fishery products and the applicable regulations comply in full. That is the number 1 thing you need to do. Then the legal framework. That of the exporting country. You are in Nigeria, you are exporting. Know the legal framework, what concerns export. What are you supposed to know and do as an exporter? Also, get yourself to be cognizant with the legal framework of the country that you want to take your products to. Very, very essential. Plant approval. Now, your plant, if you're into processing, the processing facility you have, is it approved? If it is not approved, work towards approval. You go to the competent authority in your country, as per this one, you go to the Federal Department of Fisheries, they can direct you. If you don't have a processing plant of yours, they can direct you to certified processing plant that is close to you. Then you can now liaise with that processing facility. You take your product there. Under the guidance of the department, the inspectors, they will follow you, guide you through, so that you will not have any problem when this is done. There you have an HACCP plan, have an HACCP plan in place, right from production, when you get your product, down to the factory, when it is processed, then packaged, labeling, your documentation, everything, you make sure you follow. Raw materials, where you get your source of, the source of your raw material is very, very essential. That is the source now. When traceability comes in, they should be able to trace it to the particular area you got your product from. Then, testing and certificates. Submit a notice of intention to export. Sample for laboratory analysis at the Nigerian Fisheries Laboratories. Report results to the head of Fish Safety and Quality Assurance in the Division of the Federal Department of Fisheries for wild-caught products. Source for approved vessels or registered canoes. Then for stuffing and clearance, an officer will be attached to you to check your labeling, packaging, batch numbers, production, best before the BBE, before expiration date, to make sure you comply to these things. The Federal Department takes note of this so that when your product gets out, it will not be rejected, it will not be a futile effort. So, now, grain production without depleting the resources. Talking about the IUU control now. Global 2 and the SDG 14. The 4 gaps between production and reliable market access. Competent authority, that is for inspection and capacity, yes. Some of the little gaps that we have as a department. As a competent authority, we have this capacity issue. You know, if you don't have enough capacity, it slows down the country listing and it weakens the confidence in our certificates. Then you have few approved export establishments. The approved establishments in Nigeria, as per the companies that we know approved to be exporting, they are very, very minimal, about not up to 20, considering the production that we have that can go out. Then lab accreditation and residue monitoring, which I earlier mentioned. We only have the lab in Lagos. I was talking to the young man, I will still speak with him, this African Quality Assurance Center. The department wrote to them for a long time now, with reminders. I was asking him, why have you not responded to our mail, to see if you can attend to this residue monitoring issue that we have. Paper-based certification and cold chain failure, they all drive rejects when it comes to fisheries. So, I think on this note, key take-home message, compliance is everyone's responsibility. Food safety begins at production. Traceability builds trust. If your product can be traced, it builds the trust of the country you are taking them into. Then quality creates competitiveness. Sustainability secures future markets. So together, let us build a globally competitive, safe, sustainable, and zero-reject fisheries export sector for Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Abdullah Hafsat, an Assistant Director with the Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. She has highlighted the legal and international framework for sea fisheries, and it will be good for you to visit the Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture to get more information. Like you heard from her, NAFDAC doesn't certify fish from exports, neither does SON certify. It is only the Federal Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture that has the responsibility to do that. And she has highlighted quite a number of details that are quite eye-opening. I mean, 1.4 metric ton production, and as a nation we need 3.6 metric ton. Like she has told us, it is a very green opportunity. So if you're thinking about getting into the fish or aquaculture business, this is your pointer to take it even more seriously. So right now, we would now dive into the last two virtual presentations that we have as we begin to wind down and call it a day. We would welcome back Mrs. Elizabeth Olariwaju for her experience sharing again. And right after her, we'll round off the entire section with a presentation from NAFDAC, which is an agency that I know that a lot of exporters like to hear from. So please stay tuned. I want to promise that in, say, 15 minutes, we should be out of here. And this is also me appealing to our presenters to please keep your presentation as concise and as precise as possible. Please let's make welcome back again there and had to deal with rejection, had to pay for the returns of her produce back to the country. Financial losses and all, but guess what? It didn't stop her. She noted that it became a turning point for her business. And I like the 5 takeaway lessons that she gave, which is where I want to round off this thing before we have the closing remarks. 5 takeaways for her. She said, export rejection is not the end of export business. Regulations might change while your produce are in transit. So make sure you are constantly looking out for those changes. Keep yourself abreast of the regulations, of the compliance requirements in the importing country. And she says product quality is not enough. I think my Director of Market Access Department pointed to that fact. It is not enough. Documentation is important. Compliance to regulations, compliance to certifications is very important. Pay attention to it. Work closely with regulatory agencies. Let's borrow the police slogan. We are your friends, not your enemies. So NAFDAC is there to work with you. SON is there to work with you. NEPC is there to work with you. Be friends with these people. NAQS, we're here to work with you. When we call for programs like this, tune in. One thing you might just learn could change the trajectory of your business for you. And she says every setback can become a stepping stone if you're willing to learn and improve. Learning is key. Improvement is key. Don't stand where you are. Keep it moving. Keep learning. And that is why NEPC Connect webinar is here to bring those lessons to you on a regular. I like to end it here while I hand over to my Director, Export Development and Incentive, as he wraps up and closes the 9.0 webinar series for today. Please let's appreciate Pastor John Okori.
Thank you, MC. Thank you very much for the wonderful work you have done. I want to sincerely thank the NEPC Connect for packaging this together. It's been a wonderful one, 9.0. Like I could borrow from what the NAFDAC woman said, it's time to give birth. It's time to give birth. So I appreciate you for that. Looking at the unlocking Nigerian export potentials through zero reject strategies. Reject has been a very serious matter in export, and I also appreciate Nigeria's Export Promotion Council for bringing this together. We've been looking at this. Committees have been set up. Quite a number of issues has happened, and now we are bringing to the world what we need to do. Let me thank the regulatory agencies for being here with us as we begin to find a way to handle the issue of reject in this. Also, particularly, I want to appreciate the Permanent Secretary for taking time out to be in this place, and then the ED, who has actually was here, but she has left for other official assignment, and the staff and other people who have been sitting there. If you look at the people who have been taking out time to tell us about these fishery things, and especially the woman that shared her experience with us. It's quite a painful experience, but fortunately she stood that this will not deter them, but it's actually going to make them stronger and stronger. Thank you very much for all those issues that have been raised. We are looking forward that all the exporters that have been online, all the people that have been listening to us, by the time you do your next shipment, there will be no reject at all. That's the essence of this very meeting, so that we have a zero reject at the end. Thank you very much, and all of you who have been online and on site, sitting down here to listen to us of all that we have said. May God Almighty help you, help all of us as we round up in this program. Thank you for being part of this very program. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Director, Export Development and Incentives. I would like to sincerely apologize that we'll not be able to take questions and inquiries, as I know that there would have been a lot and would have really loved to attend to them right here on the spot, but for the purpose of time, because we do not have so much anymore, we would like to direct you to please kindly send us an email to nepcconnect@nepc.gov.ng, and there will be an officer assigned to respond to you. Or to make it faster, you could call the number 091-180-51213 for your inquiries. Also note that Nigerian Export Promotion Council has offices in all the 36 states of the nation, and you could find the address of the one closest to you and walk into the offices, ask any questions that you have on your mind, and I'm very sure you would have help, and we will handhold you through the process. Also do well to follow us on all our official handles at official NEPC on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube we are at the NEPC. On LinkedIn, we are Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Please do well to follow us on these various handles, and we will be available to answer your questions and be your friend and walk you through the non-oil export process as you dive into the business and stick with us to promote this aspect of our economy. Thank you so much for joining us on the 9.0 series of the NEPC Re-Energized series. We look forward to having you at the 10th series. We have called full 10, and maybe by the time we come at 10, we will have our babies in our hands. Thank you, and see you next time.
Mm-hmm.